Welcome back to Connected From Afar. Today we are going to be talking about all things motherhood. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Janel. We have bonded as millennial women, as moms, wives, as coaches, and as students of life, all while finding the humor in the chaos. This is us unpacking and externally processing the ever evolving and growing baggage of life. Join us in the conversation.
Have we mentioned that we've never actually met in real life? We are connected from afar.
Yeah, just an open conversation of experiences and life as it comes.
Yeah. So to start out, I have two daughters and they just turned 10 and 12. Janelle, you want to tell everyone your situation?
Yeah, I love how you say that, your situation. Like, it can be a situation sometimes. Uh, I am a mom of two boys. One just turned 11, and one will be turning 9 very quickly here.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. It's so crazy how I'm like, let's talk about motherhood. And then it's like there's moments of me where I'm like, you're just in the thick of it, you know? And then before you know it, your kid's 12 or, 11. And it's like, what the hell? So yeah, I just wanted to, yeah, kind of dive into things that like aren't always talked about because people try to package up motherhood in this perfect little bow, and I just don't feel like that is the thing. I want to go all the way back to like pregnancy.
Oh boy.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, not like every single step, but just like my
Here's how we
experience of,
consummated our.
didn't even
Here's
think
how
about
we
that.
made our baby. This is how you make a boy. You probably missed that lesson.
Oh my, I didn't even think about that. That is so funny. My
We
mind
will
didn't
not
go
talk about
there.
that. How
Um,
about we? I
I
don't have
don't
any
know how to
secrets
make a
around that
boy,
either. I don't know how to
and you
make a
don't
girl
know how to
either.
make a girl.
Yeah. We were just rolling dice at this point.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so to start out with, like, I'm not one of those women that was like, I can't wait to have a kid. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to be married. I was never someone that saw that like fairy tale of, people say like, oh, little girls and they're like fairy tale like weddings or like, no, I didn't ever have that. And not in like a bad way of like I want nothing to do with this, but just it just was never like on my radar. And then my sisters are older than I am, and so I became an aunt when I was in 5th grade. So I had
Ooh.
already like had this baby experience, not of my own, but in 5th grade. And so I was just kind of like, I'll be the cool aunt forever. Like, that's fine by me. Cool. And I played that role for a long time until I met my husband. And we were actually not married when we got pregnant. And he's 5 years older than I am. And so, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to want to have a baby, I'm going to want to wait till I'm like 30, like in my head. And then, just like all things kids, there is no control. Like, I mean, there is, but in my case, I clearly had let go of the control because at 24, I end up pregnant and kind of like, oh my gosh, like, is this for reals? And I won't go into the whole story of how we figured it out, but it was quite funny. And my husband was like, that's okay. He's like, it's okay. Like, again, he wasn't my husband. We had been together for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So we had been together for a long time. And he's like, that's okay. Like, this is what we wanted eventually. And I just remember telling him, like, it was? Is it? Like, I don't know if I had totally decided that yet. And so I want to put that out there. So in case you have any of those feelings, like, I think that that's okay. I think it's okay to have a little bit of like a freak out panic mode about it when you perhaps weren't expecting it. But even down to like finding out I was pregnant and then instantly thinking, I just remember I was so lost in, so I was 25 when I gave birth, but so the second I became pregnant, I automatically thought like I'm a, okay, well now I'm a mom and now I need to like look like a mom. And I remember like trying to find different clothes and like looking at pregnancy clothes and being like, so that's what I have to wear now? Well, I'm gonna be a mom, so I guess I can't be cute. Like that's those were the thoughts that I had. I immediately thought I needed to wear pregnancy clothes, which, you don't. It's like for me in my first pregnancy, I didn't even have a bump until like almost 6 months. Like I could have continued wearing whatever I was wearing, but I just was like, and some of it was exciting, like I can buy pregnancy clothes. But then the other part of me was just feeling like I was already putting myself in this box of I need to be looking a certain way.
Like your identity changed.
Like my identity changed already, like hadn't even been showing yet.
Mm.
And it was really odd for me. And then, also like friendships shifted and changed. And I remember feeling like I don't have the plague, like I'm just pregnant. Hello. Okay, so now I'm pregnant. Now I don't have friends. Hindsight, I was smoking weed and drinking with those friends. Of course they're not going to hang out with me anymore, right? Like I'm a buzzkill now. But I couldn't see that in the timing of it. It was just like, shit, like I feel really alone. So before I go on, I just want to know, like, let's hear the beginning of your story and what are things that you feel like you experienced?
Uh, oh man. I think it was like for me it was always going to be part of my life. I had a friend, a really good friend that got pregnant early, like and not super early, but she was like I would have been like 19, I think she got pregnant
Hmm.
and had kids, and in my mind I was like, what? Like I'm still a kid, like what? No way. I knew I wanted kids and wanted to get
Yeah.
married. That was always part of the plan, but I really felt like I was still a child till like
Hmm.
26. When did I get married? How old was I? Like 26 years old, I think. And even then, yeah. So anyway, I just felt really like I was in no hurry. I wanted to live my life before the kids came. I didn't want to be, in my mind, I didn't want to be really old at like 50 and still have kids at home, which now I think like I know a lot of really young 50-year-olds, but in my mind I was
Yeah.
like senior. I would be a senior trying to travel the world. Anyway,
Yeah.
like that was really important to me until my siblings started getting married and having kids. My best friend got married and started having kids. And Marie and I had been dating for, I think, 3 years at this point, 3 or 4 years. And suddenly it was like I went through this crisis of like, I, I also got deferred from it, had applied for a certain job that was like the it job for me. Plan A went off the rails. I
Hmm.
was going through a little bit of depression, and suddenly I was like, I have no idea who I am. I have no idea where I'm going. Let's get married. Let's have babies like right now. Everyone else is doing it. Let's do it. Murray was like, pump the brakes. Like, nope, we're not there yet. I don't think you're ready for this, but because it was just out of desperation. Like I felt like I needed this identity. Like I needed some identity. I didn't know who I was,
Yeah.
and so I'm really glad he was of sound mind to say no. I really did not enjoy that no. But yeah, other than that, like when it did happen, it's like then we got married and then it was like, okay, next is kids, and then that happened, and so everything happened on time for other than that little like life crisis. But other than that, like it just kind of flowed and I was ready. Everything happened when I was ready.
Hmm.
And so I can't say that. And then not only that, I had a lot of support. Is like our group of friends that we hung out with on a like weekend basis. We all had babies at the same time within 5 months of
Okay.
each other. So there was that like support. My siblings
Hmm.
had kids. So I don't know, like that was a really easy time in my life. It was just that's probably when I felt the most at ease.
Yeah.
It was after that when shit hit the fan. Yeah, like I enjoyed pregnancy. I was one of those ladies that just like, look at it, it's so beautiful. I feel so amazing. I still could wear heels. I could exercise. I felt like $1,000,000. I had so much other than the first trimester, ton of energy. I loved being pregnant. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved. It was the best 9 months. So
Yeah.
fun. Which I know is not the common story. Most people
No,
hate
but
when I say
I
that.
no, but I love that. And I think, and I've said that to my husband now. It's like if we were, which we aren't, it's not possible. But if we, if I got pregnant now, it would be totally different because part of me is sad looking back, and not that I didn't hate it and I didn't like not feel connected, but I think I also had a lot of shame. And I don't
Mm,
really know where that shame necessarily came from. Like perhaps it was my own shame of like feeling out of control, like you didn't get the things in order the right way that society says. And that was something, I don't know, it was just really weird. And so while I was pregnant, I definitely know that I experienced a lot of shame that got in the way of
mm.
me being able to be that, like, I love my body, this is amazing, like, this is the best thing. Like, and I love that you got to experience that. And I think that's just so beautiful. And that's something that I would say looking back, or not looking back, but say for anyone that's listening who may be in this situation or might be pregnant and experiencing shame, do a little bit of work right now, whatever it is you need to do so that you can experience that beauty in it, because there is so much beauty in it. And it's sad to look back and be like, wow, lost my identity. I didn't know who I was. I lost control. I didn't, just like all of those things. And that's sad. And that was really me. I put all of that on myself, which is why even finding clothes was difficult for me, because I was like, I don't know who I am, and here's who I think I'm supposed to be. Like, I don't know. So it was really like a loss of identity. It was really interesting for me.
Well, I think that's the entire experience of motherhood, like from right from the get or of life even actually, is how we perceive it. It's
Hmm.
I mean, these are things that happen to many people. It's how we internalize it and how we interpret the event and the meaning to the stories that we give really affects how we feel about the event.
Hmm.
It's a lot of it is just our interpretation in the moment based on what our experiences are or what we thought was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, to your point, if you don't do that work, it can really affect how you experience it. It can affect even how you look back on it,
Hmm.
and I think we can't change the past, but we can go back and rewrite that narrative around it and how we especially if we've been telling these stories for a long period of time, we kind of start to embellish a little bit. We start to like dramatize the event, and
Hmm.
then it becomes bigger in our mind and bigger, and like the emotions around it even get bigger. And so sometimes we need to stop and really think about that narrative and like, is that really how I want to look at it? Or, do I want to look at like what did I learn from that? Who did I become in that experience? And kind of recreate those feelings in
Hmm.
those stories. Like that was definitely something I had to do, going like looking past when I had my second. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but I had a lot of shame wasn't the right word, but like guilt a little bit of especially the first one I had so much one-on-one time with, and the second one I
Hmm.
felt like I felt like I hadn't bonded and as much because of the way my delivery had gone. And it was probably 3-4 years in, and I don't know, somehow it came up and I started bawling. I told my mom about this, and she's like, what? She's like, you spend so much time bonding about this kid. I got millions of pictures on a daily basis, saying like,
Yes.
and I was like, you know what, you're right. But I had started telling this story because in the moment I felt like I didn't bond. And so I looked for that evidence
Hmm.
going forward, and it just built the story up until
Yeah.
someone was like, well, actually, is that really how you feel, or is that just the story you've been telling? And that's, it's like the whole, someone mentions they have a new car, it's a Toyota, and you see all these Toyotas all of a sudden. You
Yeah.
look for the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I forget the statistics on that, but we basically like the stories that we're telling from the past are basically lies.
It's true.
You
It's
know,
so true.
there's actual like evidence to back that up, and there's a percentage, and I'm not going to throw it out there, but it's higher than 50. I mean, it's true because it's based on who you were, what you were feeling, what you
Yeah.
thought, and it's like you said to your point where your mom's like, "What?" But you're like, "No, that's how it was." So that's funny.
I
And I
love that you say that. Yeah. What is the stat that everyone gives when they're lying? It's like 83% or something like that.
yeah, totally. It's like, oh my God. Well, then I was going to talk about our bodies. So
Okay.
do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like that's a good segue, or should we go into what you were going to say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I was just gonna ask if you wanted to go through, like, do we want to go through what our delivery? I don't. I think everyone is so that is such a like, not I shouldn't say private, but like, um, personal experience that even if we share that, uh, I don't know. Anyway, I think I would rather talk about what you want to ask. Our bodies. What do you want to talk about our bodies?
Well, I mean, that is part of the experience, right? Our bodies and giving birth and what, I mean, there are definite pros and cons of lists that I could go through. My first pregnancy, even just not going into like gory, crazy details, was definitely challenging. It was super challenging. I started to get like high blood pressure towards the end. So I didn't make it to my due date. Instead, I was induced. And that whole process, like, I was the mom that was like, I'm good doing it all natural. And here's my 3-page birthing, method of what I want. And what I can say is not one of the things on those 3 pages happened because being induced was never on that fucking paper to begin with. And like, you're completely, I mean, through the whole experience, you are out of control. You do not
Yeah.
have control in how the baby is going to come, in which form, in which, like, and you have to let go of that. But clearly, I had not. And in my little head, I thought I had all the control and all the power, and it was going to be this beautiful process. And it wasn't. I was induced, and that just made everything miserable because your body, it's not natural. Your body's
Yeah.
fighting this, thing. And then um, I had 2 failed epidurals. So then I'm experiencing pain that, my first epidural lasted for, I don't know, 6 hours or however long, which was great. But then it wore off. And I was like, hello, anyone? And they're like, it's not worn off. I'm like, yeah, it is. Because now things have intensified. And so then they gave me another one, and then it was just on out. I never even felt that second one, which nothing like getting 2 epidurals in your back. It was
Yeah.
like I didn't even feel like nothing worked at all that second one. I think it was her positioning. And then they had to end up, my blood pressure had gone up so high at that point. They're like, this is not good. We have to get her out. And so they pulled her out, like used one of those
What?
suction cup. Oh yeah, pulled her out, which was lovely. And there's plenty of things that I could talk
There's
about there.
trauma. Yeah. So I had a very similar experience, induced to the point where and then they just had to pull them out. Both of them.
Yeah.
They were both the same. And of
Okay.
course, both of them were sunny side up. So,
Yeah.
just not in position.
Mm-hmm.
And there is trauma that comes along with that. Like, I remember for probably the first week, every time I'd close my eyes, that's where I would go. And it was
Mm-hmm.
really hard to do that. So I think looking back now, what I really wish, what I regret a bit is, or I guess what I would learn from that experience is that I wish I focused less on the, my plan and the experience itself versus mindset. Going in with just like acceptance and surrender, and
Mm-hmm.
and like it's not a it's I mean, it is a beautiful, I wish I would have gone thinking no matter what happens, it will be a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Not to say it'll be a painless experience or um, trauma free experience, but the experience will, if I look for the evidence, it is a
Hmm.
beautiful experience, and just be a little bit more present versus just reacting to everything that's happening coming to me.
Yeah.
And so even just, like the whole feeling like I didn't bond because like I was so high on laughing gas that I couldn't even hold
Hmm.
my baby afterwards, like just little things like that. I wish I would have had a different mindset of looking at that, you know,
Hmm.
in the moment. So I didn't suffer for a long time. Like it took a long time to get over that. Theo was my youngest. Um, it was probably, he was probably like 3 or 4 by the time I had that conversation with my mom.
Hmm.
And that just like alleviated so much of this like feelings and emotions around my second kid for a long
Yeah.
time. And that like kind of informed our, I should not to say it completely changed our relationship, but just how my feelings of myself, of how I was showing up as mom, in
Hmm.
this need to kind of compensate
Yeah.
when I didn't need to,
Yeah.
or this shame and this all these emotions that we tie to our experience of something we don't really have in control of. The only thing we have control of in that moment is our mindset. We can go
Hmm.
in with a plan, but at the end of it, we kind of have to surrender and just allow. And that, I think too, the more I wish I would have done that even more, because then, then my stress level would have come down. I would have noticed more, been more present,
Yeah.
noticed more of the things. Like there's things I don't remember at all that happened
Hmm.
because I was so checked out. I was like, fuck it. Like I'm gone. Like,
Totally.
I don't want to be here. So I'm just going to like erase this from my memory, which is not like, I know it is what it is. And I definitely learned from that. But it's
Yeah.
amazing how much emotion we tie to something that we don't have. Like there's
Yeah.
someone else's agenda.
Yeah.
Someone else is involved. And
Absolutely.
it's one of the hardest things they'll ever do in their life is come out, you know?
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. Just the mindset piece of it is exactly that's the reality. It's like if you're going to do anything, just focus on like you and surrendering. I mean, everything you said, I don't need to like repeat it, but it's true because that's the one thing you can control. That like you said, like that's the one thing. So why waste energy on all of the other things that you have no control over? And I hear it all the time from new moms now. And I don't try to like redirect them necessarily because I also know that like that's their experience and you do believe you have control over all of it until you realize you don't. And it's a very um, eye-opening experience because that's parenting from the beginning, from the very, very beginning. The
Yeah.
second you get pregnant, honestly, the control is over. And even to this day of having a 10 and 12-year-old and going through all of those processes of, yeah, I may want them to do something, but that doesn't mean that they're going to, or that they're not going to have their own agenda or their own input. And I feel like the sooner that we can realize we don't have control over other people, even our babies, when we think that we should, the more peace that you bring into your body and your mind, and the deeper connection that you can build with your babies because you're allowing them to be them. And you can just, have more of a gentle guide instead of like a forced, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And I think that even helps us when you have these expectations that things are going to go a certain way and then they're not met. You're just setting yourself up for disappointment,
Hmm.
for frustration, for resentment. And that doesn't serve anybody. That just builds up walls in between, like in the relationships that you want, that you cherish the most, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. you can invite them, but you can't force them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Invite, not force.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like the first few months, like maybe the first year, like how were you? Actually, let's talk about first baby. First baby versus second baby. So first baby, what was your kind of first few months experience with a newborn as new mom?
I was still holding on to control.
Mm, I hear ya.
I just turned into total like mama bear. My mother-in-law had come out when my oldest Ari was 3 weeks old, and like she worked, I'm sorry, in like Boston's Children's Hospital, worked with infant babies every day for years, and she shows up to help, and I'm like, I got it. No, I'm good. No. Yeah, she offered like let me feed her in middle of the night so that you can sleep through the night. It was like, absolutely not. No. Like it was just I couldn't receive help.
Ooh,
And which is, and even Lee's like, she's just trying to help, like, and I'm like, yeah, but I got it. I don't need her help, and it wasn't necessarily her help. It was I didn't want to receive help at all
yes.
because the loss of control, and then there's this battle of breastfeeding or not breastfeeding, and she wouldn't latch on. So then there's another battle, another thing I'm losing. So I just felt like I was constantly losing, like these things that society says this is how things should go. And then
Or a
you're
good
like,
mom. What makes a
or a
good
good mom.
super mom?
Yes. Yeah, a good mom. And it just like spiraled from there. And so new mom me didn't want to receive help. Just just wanted to, live in the struggle by myself because I'm trying to uphold what a good mom is. And then on the flip side of that is where I can discuss more of like our bodies. And then there's that piece of me of like, okay, well, let me get back in shape, And I mean, I was so naive to like, I don't even know, it was like a few weeks after, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and put my pants on. No, I wasn't. Like those jeans, those prior jeans and never fit me again. Like I was not going to go and put those jeans on, but in my head I needed to. And then it was just that. Like now I need to work out all the time. I need to lose this baby weight. I need to get back into shape. I don't want to be a frumpy mom. I don't want to, just the pressure. It's so weird to think because of who I am today, but who I was then was so tied up in the societal pressure of looking good, looking like the best wife, the best mom, and trying to have my shit together. Meanwhile, I'm like balancing on my freaking pinky toe, like losing it left and right. Like I didn't have shit together, but trying to make it look like I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of moms in their own way, it might look a little different, but I think at the end of the day, we think we have to be this like super mom, and we just do ourselves a disservice by,
Hmm.
you know, thinking that we have to do it alone. But that means we do it alone,
Yeah.
and no one can see us struggle.
Hmm.
Yet
Oh yeah.
underneath, we're just dying,
Hmm.
you know? Yeah,
What
I
was yours?
so with the first, my mom came, and my mom's I thank God for my mom. She said something to me very, very early on. I can't remember if it was when she was here, but my mom was very, like, she came and her way of helping, like, yes, like, my mom is a baby freak. She loves babies, but she was just wise enough to know that I needed to spend time with the baby. So her version of helping was feeding me and cleaning my home and just being
Yes.
present.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm so grateful for my mom for that. But and then The other thing she did was she told me early on, oh, she wasn't there because I definitely called her because I would call her crying, being like, I don't know what to do. Tell me. Because I feel like my mom was a really great mom. Like she
Hmm.
was so good with babies and she's very intuitive and she's very, she often says, she's like, I don't think you remember it right. She's like, you saw me later on. But she's like so much, so calm and like, not always, like she would blow her gasket, but it was always like, what do you need right now? Do you need water? When was the last time you drank some water? When was the last time you ate? You know, like just always trying to get to the root of where emotions were coming from. Anyway, but I had this perception of wanting to be this perfect mom and I need to know all the answers. And like, so I would call her and be like, tell me what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. And one day she's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. She's like, you're there with that baby. That is your baby. You know what's right for you and your baby. No one else can
Hmm.
tell you. They're not experiencing what you're experiencing right now. They don't have the same relationship. What is right for you and your baby? And that was really huge. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was like, but I just want to know. Tell me the
Right.
answers.
Right.
Give me the
Right.
easy way. But that was such a permission to, like, you can take, because you do get advice from outside people or, they want to share their experiences just because they want to save you a little bit of heartache or a little bit of stress or whatever. And so when people would give me advice or share what they think, it was permission to be like, I hear you. That's not a fit for me.
Hmm.
And without judgment, right? Like I didn't
Yeah.
take offense or I just, I'd be like, oh, thanks for sharing that. And then
Yeah.
I would do it. And then you sometimes, I think with that mindset helps me because then it'd be like all that advice isn't really good for me. But that
Hmm.
one little nugget, actually, I think that might help me, so I
Yeah.
could kind of take, instead of putting my guard up, I'd be like, what of this is useful to me and
Hmm.
could actually work in my situation? And maybe I'll try that.
Yeah.
So that little nugget from my mom was game changer.
Yeah.
Not to say I didn't stress and cry and call her for answers, but
Totally.
it was just a relax, you've got this. Just like,
Hmm.
and then it was just like a reminder, like, what does mom always ask you? What do you need right now? Are you tired? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Do you need a
Yeah.
hug? You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
usually it falls in there. So
Yes.
yeah, that was my experience. I did struggle with being the new mom because you have such an idea of what you want it to look like and how you think you're going to perform. Because of course we all know how the best way to mom is. The best moms are the moms that don't have kids. And then you become a
Yeah.
mom. Then you become your mom and you're like, shit, I'm like, balancing plates and like, the spinning plates, the line of spinning plates. You're like,
Yes.
whoa, keep going, don't drop,
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so true. I remember like being around a friend one time and she was like, well, not like kid food. Like the kids have their food. Oh my God, so judgmental, right? It was like kid food. Like just feed them what the fuck you eat and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, as I stated earlier, my kids are 10 and 12, and I am still, whoever's cooking in this house is creating 3 meals every night. Yep, we are, because that's how it's turned out, and I can't seem to get out of it. It's
You know
like,
what? And I think it comes to a point you're like, this is like so low on my priority list. Like,
yeah,
I'm not like it just, they'll figure this out when they
yeah,
grow up. Like whatever works for you, I think just, do you have energy to fix that? Is it so debilitating to you or so inconvenient for you that
yeah,
you're wanting to spend the time to address that?
yeah. It's like, okay, we can all eat together when we go out and we can find a place we can all eat, which we do. And sometimes do we hit up 3 places so everyone can have their own thing for fun to be nice, extra? Sure, that's rare, but we will do that. It's like whatever. Like I've just let go of that. I mean, I have let go of a lot. I will
Yeah.
say becoming a mom, I'm just so much like such a better human being. Such a better human being. I have learned and continue to learn so much through my kids. I mean, they're my biggest teachers ever right now,
Yeah.
and it started from when they were little, 1, 2 years old, of again, me realizing you don't have control. How do you want to feel? Do you want to have a freak out moment because they won't take a nap? And yes, you're exhausted, but like, how else can you approach this situation? And don't get me wrong, there were a few times of, almost having like a tantrum myself of just like, I just need you to take a nap. And almost to real, to the point of like, that's not the kind of mom I want to be. I want to be the mom that's like, when I can and my energy is right, because I'm a human and that's not going to always be the case, but I would rather approach that situation from a place of, let me comfort you to help you take a nap instead of put you in the room and just be like, take the nap and I need a break. So you have to fall asleep? And it's like, looking back, it's like that energy, like what energy? Who wants to just like go to sleep like that? And having that comfort is just so much better. And that shifted for me very early on with my first daughter of like, wow, I didn't realize that because some anger was coming up for me with the
Mm-hmm.
whole realization of you don't have control anymore, Nicole. Like you do not have control anymore. And so I at first went to battle with that because I couldn't, nor did I have the tools to release that and accept it. I thought I needed to fight my way through it. And so that was the process of me doing that, only to realizing, you know, this is not the mom I want to be. Angry
Yeah.
and pissed at my tiny little, 18-month-old for not wanting to nap. Like, figure it out, get your nervous system in check, and be the mom that you want to be. Like, this is a you problem. This is not a kid problem. This is totally you. And that goes all the way up until right now. Anytime I feel like set off or triggered from them, which luckily for me and them, it's way less now because of all of the work that I do. But it's like, no, it's always the reminder. This is on me. This is not on them. Why am I so upset? What's going on with me? Okay, you don't have control again, or whatever it is. I'm using that
Yeah.
because that one was so big. But it's been just such a beautiful process to be able to lean into that of like, damn, I am a pretty fucking amazing woman now because of them. I don't know if I would be this cool if I didn't have kids.
I'm so glad you feel really cool because most days I do not feel cool at all. I'm more leaning into the like, yes, I'm that cheesy mom, like the mom jokes, the like we just had Mason's 11 birthday and there was 10 11-year-olds and they're all like the Riz and like I don't even know all like the Sigma,
Ohio,
Ohio.
Sigma. Yep, yep.
And at one point I was like, I just listened to a whole conversation and I have no idea what they just said. And so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna lean into that. And I just like started doing my own and like throwing in some, you know,
Yeah,
stuff from when we were young and they're like, mom. And I'm like, yeah,
totally.
well, I'm gonna own that. I'm not
Yeah,
cool. That's okay.
yep, yep. Don't get me wrong, I definitely have those, but oh yeah, we'll use their slang just to really, get to them,
Cause I
especially
can't
like
keep it straight.
well, because my husband watches YouTube and so do my kids, he always knows what's happening. Like I'm late to the game. If they say something, I'm like, so what's that mean? Oh, okay. And it's so funny because like I want to make fun of them for these words because they're so made up. But then I was just watching this TikTok the other day where this teacher was like giving the kids extra credit for if they knew the slang words that you and I used
Yeah,
back
yeah,
in the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
And the ones he brought up, and I was correct. I've been wanting to play it for the girls just so I'm like,
Yes,
damn,
send that to me.
we also had made up words
Yes, yeah.
like home skillet. Did
Oh,
you
I
say
don't.
home skillet? For
That one. Yeah, I don't.
like 411,
Oh yeah,
like what's
yeah,
the 411?
yeah.
Just like I'm trying to think of, I just remembered home skillet and I was
I
like,
was
that's
uncool even at that age.
hilarious.
Like when I was young, I was still uncool. Grew up in the middle of nowhere, so by the time most of these sayings came to our hometown, they were long
Hmm.
gone. Like we were
Yeah.
so behind the times. or at least I was. I just wasn't up on the, but yeah. Anyway, to your point, kids are our biggest teacher. And I find
Yes.
they are definitely the mirror to the pieces of ourselves that make us the most uncomfortable about ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, just, and so whenever they piss me off or they do something that makes me squirm, like, oh, I can't believe they did that in public or whatever. Usually it's something that they could care less. You
Yeah.
know, that's just who they are. But it's something that either I thought I had to hide as a kid or like even as an
Mm-hmm.
adult or the way that they behaved is a reflection of who I am and the type of mom that I am. You know, and I get like a little uncomfortable with that. Like, oh my God, I can't believe people saw that,
Yeah.
now what are they going to think of me, which is such a
Yes.
when I catch myself doing that, I'm like, and and sometimes that's really great, sometimes that fucking sucks, and it's
Yes.
repetitive, especially the ones that keep coming up over and over and over, and you're like, why haven't I like worked through this already? Like, why are we
Yes.
still here? Why does this still bother me? It's like,
Yes.
well, because you haven't actually dealt with this. You've just kind of like suppressed it and hid it and hoped it
Mm.
would go away, but they're a reflection of you. Actually,
Yeah.
one of the coolest things I heard say, it was a video, like an inspirational speaker talking to a high school, and he was talking about how to deflect with kids, like an argument or when someone says something bad to you, how do you deflect? And one of them was, oh, fuck. So if someone says something mean or just like in the way that they said something to him, he said, oh, wow, where have you heard that before in your life that you feel it's okay to talk to me like that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, shit, that hits home. So, like, when our kids talk to someone some way and we're like, that's not good manners or whatever, that is learned. And is
Mm-hmm.
that coming from you? Is the way, so now I see it a lot in my kids and how they're talking to each other, especially, as sass starts to come in a little bit
Yes.
and being
Yes.
short with each other and even just the tone of voice that they use when they're frustrated with each other. And I'm thinking a lot more about, is this how I'm talking to them when I'm
Mm-hmm.
frustrated?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm annoyed with them, is this how I'm talking to them? That now
Yeah.
they feel it's okay to talk to their brother like that.
Yeah.
And that is the truth is uncomfortable
Yeah.
because it's coming from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's crazy at how much of an influence we truly are. And if we just stopped trying to direct them and just started to lead in our own way, at
Yeah.
how
I love that.
much more like powerful that is, because then we're not doing this teaching, we're just living what it is we're wanting them to be.
Boom.
Mic
Mic
drop.
drop.
That's it.
Can you say
That's
that
it.
again? I think that's really important. Say that again.
Okay. So,
Do you remember?
yeah. It was so good. I forgot. No, we want we want to be the influence. Like we want to live in action with how we're wanting them to be instead of trying to dictate and direct them constantly. Do it this way, do it that way. It's like, no, show them this is how we do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Which
like,
is
that's
it's not
something
always
that,
easy, but because it makes us
no.
confront the things, the actions that we're taking and how we treat others and how we deal with our emotions, our frustrations. It makes us face them and address them.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's easier to tell someone how you think you want them to behave, also how you would like to behave, the best
Hmm.
version of yourselves. But now you're asking, you actually have to be that person. You actually have to
Yeah.
have that awareness. You have to catch yourself. You have to put that foot forward
Yeah.
and let them see that happen. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
starts with you, which means you are in control, but that also means you have to address some of your
Well,
demons.
address your demons, but also take accountability. Like you
Yeah.
are indeed going to not act correctly at some point, even if your highest self wants you to behave in a certain way, right? You're going to have a reaction that's totally over the top. It's going to happen. Instead of rolling with it and just letting it be, like take full accountability and go to your children and apologize. I should have said, I shouldn't have said it that way. I was really, I was really angry, and what really was going on is this. And I've done that with my kids forever, forever. Because I also don't want, we're natural superheroes to our children, and I'm not trying to take away my superhero power, but I want them to also know that, like, we're human and we make mistakes. And what's for me and what's true for me is what's most important is coming back and addressing that, like, I shouldn't have said it the way that I did. I know that hurt your feelings. Here's what was really going on, you know? And then it's like, oh, okay, mom makes mistakes. That also gives me permission later to apologize after I maybe reacted in a way that wasn't good either. And just taking accountability. And it's like, okay, here's it, it just sets the tone for next time, you know? Because
Yeah.
once you've said that out loud, and if that situation happens again, you've now played that out. Chances are you're not going to react the same way you did the first time because you not only brought awareness to it, you said it out loud, and now if you're here doing the work, you want to change each time. So every opportunity you get is another chance for you to do it differently, is how I view it.
Yeah, and to your point, I also think that your point of you need to be the model is you're
Yeah.
also modeling taking ownership of your actions and asking forgiveness, apologizing, and asking for forgiveness. And that
Hmm.
is also a learned behavior that doesn't come natural. I mean, no one likes to do that. It's not a comfortable position to admit that you made a mistake, that you're wrong, that you were a complete douchebag, whatever. It's not comfortable. So that is a skill that needs to be developed and it needs to be
Hmm.
learned through a model. And the
And
other
I
thing
want
I
to say
want to
this, it's
go ahead.
really quick, sorry.
Nope.
For me, it's less asking for forgiveness and me more apologizing.
Oh, I love
Like
that. Yeah.
I don't need them to forgive me for it. I want them to know that I am not okay with how I acted.
Yes. I love that distinction. Yeah, because I think sometimes we apologize because we want to be liked,
Hmm.
and sometimes I think we apologize because we want to fit in and that kind of thing. So sometimes we apologize when we shouldn't even apologize. We just want to,
Yeah.
so I think that distinction of I'm not apologizing because what I need from you. I'm apologizing because I'm owning up to my actions and I'm not okay with it. You might
Yeah.
be, and I think that's also true is that sometimes the things we apologize, the other person could care less. They're like, why are you apologizing? Like, I didn't take offense to
Totally.
that. And it's like,
Yeah.
you might not take offense to it, but I'm not okay with what I said or how I treated
Yeah.
you or whatever. Um, yeah, I've never thought of that distinction before. I love that. And I think maybe I used to always say when I would model or when I model like apologizing is like, can you forgive me? And then I would, with the kids, I would like try and like reenact it, right? Like when they were apologizing to each other and it's like, ask for forgiveness. And then the other person, you should be gracious enough to say, I forgive you.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
The asking that person, because they might, in the moment, they might not be ready.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just like, thank you for the apology.
That's
You can
it.
acknowledge, but like, I'm not ready. Like, let me deal
Yep.
with what I need to deal with. Yeah.
And I even try to play around, this just goes into that, but I try to play around with not even saying I'm sorry because I just feel like I'm sorry has been thrown around so often that to me it
Yeah.
doesn't mean shit. So I would rather say something of like it, it hurt my heart that I spoke to you that way, or that's just a made up thing. But like I
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
to maneuver into something different and focus on like my action and how that doesn't align with the person I'm trying to be, instead of like I'm really sorry. I'm so, it's just like, because then it's accountability to me is just so much more powerful than apology typically, because there
Ooh.
is this like need to say it's okay, and it's like it's not. I
Yeah.
actually need you to not say that because it's not okay. I shouldn't have said it that. I shouldn't have said that or done that or whatever.
Yeah. And if I do it again, please call me out on it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the most powerful things I ever read, and I can't remember the name of the book at the time when I read it, like the kids were super young, and it said, there's three people you should forgive in your life right now.
Hmm.
Is one of them I can't remember. Clearly, that one wasn't super impactful in the moment. But one of them was yourself. Forgive
Hmm.
yourself. I'm assuming like forgive yourself now, but forgive your past. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, forgive yourself. And the third one was forgive your parents. And I was like,
Yeah.
and it goes on to kind of explain that in the moment, your parents were doing the best they could with what they had.
Yep.
And that was such a kind of relief even for myself of this expectation of being my version of a perfect mom, like even thinking about like what my parents did, and you have those thoughts like I'll never do that, I'll
Oh
never
yeah.
parent like that or whatever it is. And it was just like, right, like I don't have all the answers right now. I don't have the experience. I haven't read all the books.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not someone who does all the research. It's like I am a practical learner. And in any given moment, I don't have all the answers. Is I
Yeah.
will make the best most of the time. Ideally, you make the best choice with what you have.
Yeah.
But after that experience, ooh, guess what? I have more knowledge, I have more experience, more wisdom based on what happened in that moment, right? That
Yeah.
might choose to act differently the next time. So that just is, it helped almost myself forgive myself as a mom of all
Hmm.
these expectations I put on myself of being this perfect mom. Is
Yeah.
I need to forgive myself, my past experiences, and just learn from them. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
I didn't know better at the time. I do now, and I
Yeah.
will change the way I act accordingly.
Totally. I love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna end it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was so good.
Yeah. Okay, but before we end, I think we should ask
Okay.
our mystery questions.
Okay.
I have one for you. What has been the biggest, most important piece of advice you ever received as a mom?
Mm.
Or nugget of truth, not even advice, but nugget of truth.
Negative truth.
Just, whether it was someone told you something or you read something or had a realization.
I think that the biggest one is something that you touched on earlier, and it's like there's not like a quote, but it's just allowing your kids to be who they are, knowing that it does not have a reflection of what kind of parent you are.
Man, we could do a whole call on that. I'm still working through that one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so now your mystery question. This is going to be a more lighthearted question.
Okay.
So you have 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. What has been your favorite stage so far?
Ooh, easy answer. Babies. Give me any little baby. Just all the snuggles and all the cute little faces and
Hmm.
like just like when they like arch their back and then they sleep and you can snuggle and
And they
like
smell so good.
they smell so good and there's so much wonder in their eyes and there's a lot of first, like the first giggle and the first crawl and the first, like all the first. I love the first year of life. Loved it. I
Absolutely.
will happily get up in the middle of the night and nurse a baby.
Yeah.
Not to say I didn't have my challenges. I didn't cry. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
But when I look back at any stage, the one that puts hearts in my eyes is like 0 to 1.
Yeah. So true. So true. Okay, well, I hope that if there's some moms or soon to be moms or women just in general that watch this today, you receive some sort of nugget because even if you're not a mom, I feel like there's just so much wisdom within women in this little episode here today.
Just
But
grace for self.
just grace for yourself. Yeah. So follow us, like and subscribe, do all the things. And until next Tuesday, and if there's, as always, questions or comments that you have, leave them and we will hopefully tackle them in a future episode.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Love you guys.